In 2005, a writer named Dan Buettner walked into Loma Linda, California, a small city east of Los Angeles. He was working with National Geographic, looking for places where people live unusually long lives. What he found was hard to believe. Compared to other people in California, the men there live about 7 years longer. The women live about 4.5 years longer. 7 years is not a small number. That is the difference between meeting your grandchildren as toddlers or meeting them as teenagers. In most of the U.S., a day off looks the same no matter where you live. Errands, laundry, maybe a few hours of TV, or finally answering the emails you ignored all week. In Loma Linda, 1 day a week looks nothing like that. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what happens inside the body on that 1 day, and why researchers think it adds years to a person's life. The last thing I cover is not a food and not a supplement. It costs nothing, and it is the part most people miss completely. Here is the one thing this whole video comes down to: a hormone called cortisol. That is the chemical your body makes when it senses stress. Cortisol is not the enemy. In the morning, it is the reason you wake up and feel ready to move. It is supposed to rise when you get up, then slowly drop all day, until it is low again at bedtime. The problem starts when it does not drop. If work, money worries, or a packed schedule keep it high all day, every day, your body never gets the signal that it is safe to stand down. Most people think stress is something that happens only in your head, a feeling you push through if you are tough enough. But cortisol that stays high does not stay in your head. It raises blood pressure. It raises blood sugar. And it keeps your immune system stuck in a low simmer of inflammation. That is your body's repair system running nonstop, even when nothing needs repairing. Here is the proof this is not about genes. In 1976, Marmot and Syme studied Japanese-American men in California. The ones who kept a traditional way of life had heart disease rates as low as men back in Japan. The ones who had fully adopted the fast-paced American lifestyle had 3 to 5 times more heart disease. Same ancestry, same genes, very different result. American Journal of Epidemiology, 1976. And it is not just a U.S. story. In South Korea, Lee, Yim, and Lee tracked almost 57,000 workers for up to 7 years. People working 61 hours a week or more were 69% more likely to develop high levels of a blood marker for inflammation, compared to people working 40 hours or less. Journal of Occupational Health, 2022. Different country, different culture, same body, same result. The first piece is the simplest one. For 24 hours, work completely stops. Not slows down. Stops. That means no checking email just in case. No running the errand you've been putting off. No catching up on chores because I finally have time. For 1 full day, the to-do list does not exist. Here is what that does inside your body. Remember cortisol from earlier. The stress hormone that is supposed to drop in the evening, but often does not, when there is genuinely nothing left to do, and nothing you are supposed to be doing, your body finally gets the all-clear signal. Cortisol can actually fall. This is not a guess. Morton, Lee, and Birx tested it directly. They studied 285 Seventh-day Adventists and measured cortisol in their urine, collected overnight, either before or after the Sabbath. In the men, cortisol was measurably lower after the Sabbath than before it. Journal of Psychology and Theology, 2025. Here is something you can try tonight for free. Pick a time, say 7 p.m. After that, your work phone goes in a drawer. Your to-do list stays on the fridge, unread. If a work thought pops into your head, write it on a sticky note and tell yourself, "I'll deal with that tomorrow." Just one evening. Notice how you feel by the time you go to bed. That is 30% of the picture. What comes next is where most people, even the ones who eat well, make a mistake that cancels this out. The second piece is not something you eat or take. It is who you are with on that day off. In Loma Linda, that day is not spent alone. People go to a service together. They share a meal, often with the same group, week after week. They visit each other's homes. Here is why this part cannot be replaced by a pill or a supplement. No pill notices when you do not show up. No supplement calls you the next day to check if you are okay. That feeling that a group of people would notice and would show up for you if something went wrong is something only other people can give you. This is not just a nice idea. Holt, Lundstad, Smith, and Layton looked at 148 separate studies, covering more than 308,000 people. People with strong, regular social ties had about 50% better odds of survival than people without them. PLOS Medicine, 2010. To put that in perspective, the researchers said this effect was about as strong as the difference between smoking and not smoking. Here is how this connects to Piece 1. Stopping work for a day by itself is not the whole story. It can even feel hollow if you spend that quiet day completely alone. Superville, Pargament, and Lee studied over 5,000 Adventists and found that the health benefits of keeping the Sabbath were partly explained by the social support that came with it. Journal of Religion and Health, 2014. In plain words, the rest works better when the people are there too. You now have 2 of the 3 pieces. The third is the one researchers almost did not include in the paper because it looked too simple to matter. Here is what I said I would come back to. It is not a food. It is not a supplement. And it sounds almost too plain to matter. Pick one day, the same day, every single week, and do not move it. In Loma Linda, that day is fixed. It starts at sundown on Friday and ends at sundown on Saturday. Every week for an entire lifetime. Not, whenever I get a free Saturday. Not Sunday this week, Wednesday next week. The same 24 hours on the same schedule week after week, year after year. Here is why that matters. Your body runs on an internal clock, a roughly 24-hour rhythm that controls when you feel sleepy, when your stress hormone rises and falls, even when you feel hungry. That clock likes predictability. When your day off keeps moving around, your body gets a small dose of jet lag every single week, even though you never got on a plane. Researchers call this social jet lag. This shows up everywhere. In Germany, Renneberg and his team found that people whose sleep times shifted around the most between work days and free days had higher rates of obesity. Current Biology, 2012. A 2025 analysis of health data from the United States found that same shifting pattern linked to higher rates of metabolic syndrome, a cluster of problems including high blood pressure and high blood sugar. And in Colombia, researchers found university students with the most irregular sleep schedules had the most sleep problems and the most stress. Germany, the United States, Colombia. Different cultures, different diets, different climates. Same body, same result. One honest note. If your job involves rotating shifts, nursing, factory work, emergency response, picking the same day every week may not be realistic right now, and that is not a failure on your part. Talk to your doctor about which days give your body the most consistent recovery, given your schedule. Here's the plan. 3 things, and they build on each other. Pick your 24 hours, and write it down. During those 24 hours, work does not exist. Spend part of that day with other people, in person. Step 1. Choose one day each week. Saturday, Sunday, whatever fits your life. What matters is that it is the same day, every single week. Pick a start and end time too. For example, 6 p.m. Friday to 6 p.m. Saturday. Write it on your calendar like a doctor's appointment. Don't move it. For step 2, no email. No quick errands. No catching up on chores you've been putting off all week. If a work thought pops up, write it on a sticky note for later and let it go. This is the piece from earlier, giving your body the all-clear signal so your stress hormone can actually drop. For step 3, a meal with family, a visit to a friend, a walk with a neighbor, a religious service if that's part of your life, or a community group if it isn't. This is the piece from earlier, the social support that makes the rest work better. Put all 3 together, and you have what Loma Linda has done for generations. The same 24 hours, off limits to work, spent with people, every single week, without exception. What to track after 90 days. Ask your doctor for these 3 simple blood tests. Most GPs can order all of them at once. HSCRP, a marker of inflammation. Fasting blood sugar or HbA1c. A standard cholesterol panel. What to expect, realistically. At 7 days, you'll probably feel a little restless, maybe even guilty for doing nothing. That's normal. It usually means it's working. Notice if you sleep a little better that one night. At 30 days, the day starts to feel less strange. You might find yourself looking forward to it, and maybe sleeping a bit more consistently overall. At 90 days, this is when it's worth rechecking those blood tests. Some people see small but real improvements in their inflammation or blood sugar numbers. Others won't see much change in the numbers yet, but will say they feel calmer. Both are normal results this early. The bigger changes tend to build over years, not months. We started this video in Loma Linda, California, talking about the 7 extra years researchers found there. By now, you know it isn't one secret food or one secret pill. It's a 24-hour stop, spent with people, on a day that never moves. Here's your one thing for tonight. It takes less than 5 minutes, and it costs nothing. Open your calendar right now. Pick a day next week. Write down a start time and an end time. That's all. You don't have to do anything else yet. Just block it off, the way you'd block off a doctor's appointment. Next week, I want to talk about something that shows up on the table in almost every long-lived population on Earth. And it's not the food most people guess. If videos like this are useful to you, subscribing just means you won't miss it. Tell me in the comments. What does your Saturday actually look like right now? I read every single one. What you say here shapes what I make next.